What's up, Conference USA fans? Welcome into a very special episode of CUSA Insider, the official podcast of Conference USA. We are live here on site in Lynchburg, Virginia at Liberty Baseball Stadium for the 2025 CUSA Baseball Championship. We're ready to talk some baseball. I've got Eric Jones with me, baseball extraordinaire from our office, and we're going to talk a little bit about the bracket, about the seeding, maybe throw a few superlative winners in there, talk just a little bit about this upcoming baseball championship that actually gets underway starting tomorrow. We'll go through the game times and things like that here in just a moment, but let's talk a little bit about how the season ended. Our seeds are final. We're playing some championship baseball tomorrow, and I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, I look at this bracket right now and I see 1 through 8. At least in my 3 years here, this has got to be the deepest field we've had, I think. When you take a host institute or host school in Liberty this week, getting to play the number 1 seed DBU after playing them this weekend, and gave them a run for their money. I know they got no hit on Sunday or on Saturday, but I mean that game on Friday night with just the late inning heroics and the walk off and all that, like. They're going to have a good crowd behind them, I think, and they might give DBU a run for their money and even, make a little splash in this tournament. But, I think looking at that side of the bracket just as a whole, you got 4 and 5, Jackson State and La Tech. They didn't play too long ago either.
Yeah.
And that was quite the series. Jackson State's rattled off 5 straight conference series, which is kind of been under the radar a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But they're playing really good baseball. Super excited to see how that one turns out tomorrow. But yeah.
So you look, at the way things kind of came down to the wire in many ways on Saturday. We were texting back and forth. If this happens, Jacksonville State's the 5 seed. If this happens, Louisiana Tech's the 5 seed.
Yep.
And so it did come down to the final weekend of the season. So you take a look at this bracket, and we've got some exciting games tomorrow. You look at the 9 a.m. time slot. You've got number 3 Kennesaw State versus number 6 FIU. And then at 12:30, and these are all Eastern time, folks. So we're in Eastern time here in Lynchburg. At 12:30, you've got number 2 WKU versus New Mexico State. Tell me a little bit about these matchups and maybe what you're looking for.
Some interesting matchups here. I think, you look at the 9 a.m. game with Kennesaw State and FIU. Kennesaw State came out in conference play, playing with their hair on fire a little bit. New member to the league. I keep preaching about it. They got a bunch of stuff to prove to this league, and, they deserve that 3 seed. I think you look at their stats on paper, and, they may not, wow you when you first see it, but these guys can hit. They've come up clutch this year. They had that crazy game against New Mexico State a few weeks ago. I think they scored 6 runs in the 9th inning to win it too. A lot of clutch guys on that team, a lot of veteran leadership with that team, but also a lot of, youth. A lot of good young players with that squad. I'm interested to see how they, look in person for the first time for me this year. And FIU team has been kind of up and down later on this season, but they can hit the ball around the ballpark as well. We saw it last year's tournament. You got Keyshawn Frett and Brylan West, 2 guys that were all conference honorees as well. And those guys can hit bombs. And I think Frett finished with 19, 20 home runs this year. Super excited to see how that matchup goes. It's a 9 a.m. game.
Who knows?
Got to wake up early and see how those pitchers look. It might be an offensive morning. You never know with those two. But then you look down at WKU and New Mexico State. I know WKU didn't finish the way they wanted to this past weekend at home. 30 wins at home this season, incredible feat. They were in Las Cruces just a couple of weeks ago as well, and gave it to them a little bit.
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact number, but outscored them by quite a bit.
In that New Mexico air.
Yes, ball was flying out for the Hilltoppers. But again, a New Mexico State team that is just scrappy. Like, we have a bunch of scrappy offenses in this league. It's a hitter's league. So super excited to see how that kind of matchup goes in a ballpark that plays, a little bit bigger. It's not going to be that New Mexico dry air.
Yeah,
so
it's the mountain air up here, but it's not the New Mexico dry air, so it's a little bit different.
Not a whole lot like that. And but yeah, super excited to see that WK pitching staff go up against New Mexico State tomorrow, and we'll see how the rest of these weeks, the the rest of this week turns out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, that's the morning matchups. We kind of mentioned the afternoon, evening ones a little bit earlier, but you've got number one DBU taking on Liberty at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So that's the 1 versus 8. And then you look at the game, the nightcap, I guess, the end of day one, Jacksonville State versus Louisiana Tech. That's the 4 versus the 5 at 7:30 p.m. and Eastern time. You and I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier before we got on the show, but which side of the bracket do you think is going to play tougher in this tournament?
I think when you look at any host, you're going to assume, they're going to bring a good crowd, and that might be tough to face. They're playing on their home turf. They're an 8 seed, yes, but I think they're a very talented 8 seed. I look at that side of the bracket with DBU, Liberty, Jack State, and La Tech. I think that's going to be a really tough side of the bracket. And nothing to, sneeze at the other side either. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a really good, I think, deep, weekend or week of baseball. And we'll see which bullpens can hang around and keep their teams in these ball games.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen already, we released our Superlative Award winners. Today? That was today.
Today,
yeah.
Yes,
so
yes.
Earlier this afternoon. So we actually get to talk to 3 of those Superlative Award winners here in just a second. We did an interview with WKU's Coach Rardin this afternoon, and then we had Drew Whalen on, and then Ryan Wideman also. So that interview is coming right up. But who else won Superlative Awards?
Yeah, to go along with the WKU coaching staff, we got Dylan Napoleon, I think very deserving. Has a top 2 right now, pitching staff in the country. I think for most of the season they were sub-3 ERA team, and I mean that is just incredible work that what he's done. He came with Coach Rardin, so super excited again to give that out to him and their coaching staff. They're very well deserving. We also have Nathan Humphreys, who is now a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year in Conference USA. Won it 2 years ago. I mean, the guy just flies around the outfield. You can tell he's the leader of that outfield, and even just the defense in general. So super happy for him. Very deserving again. And then you have Brooks Robertson, a freshman at Louisiana Tech. And this was one of those awards that was kind of up for grabs a little bit, I feel like this year especially we have a very veteran-led conference, just with, players on each team. But I think Brooks Robertson was very deserving of this award. Pitched a lot of the bullpen to start the year and came into that starting role later on and really thrived. He had a great game against Southern Miss. I think he racked up 7 strikeouts, a career high for him. But it's kind of been a spark plug. He shows a lot of energy on the mound for them. So I'm excited to see him watch him pitch this weekend. Yeah, I'm excited to see all of these games get underway. But before that, we have a really great interview for you right now. We teased it a second ago, but we've got the tops here on site for you in Lynchburg. Go ahead and watch that interview right now. What's up, Conference USA fans? Thank you for joining us here on another episode of CUSA Insider, the official podcast of Conference USA. We have an extra special episode in store for you today because we are here on site at the 2025 Baseball Championship here in Lynchburg, Virginia. And joining me, we have the 2 seed WKU Hilltoppers, a couple of great guys from that team. Our Keith LeClaire Coach of the Year, Marc Rardin, joining us here. Our Pitcher of the Year, Drew Whalen, joining us, and also our player and newcomer of the year, Ryan Wideman. Thank you guys so much for joining us here today to talk a little bit of baseball.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach, I want to start with you because there's something that happened with the Hilltoppers this season that has never, ever happened before. You guys had the best team in school history, 42 wins, the most ever. What was it about this team that you think may have gotten you to this mark? Did you feel like it was going that way as the season got started? Were you a little bit surprised that you guys jumped out to such a hot start?
Right. Well, I mean, we felt confident with who we recruited. We always talk about going out and getting the right people who make the player. So, we recruit a certain type of student athlete is what we feel because they're around each other so much. There's more than just 3 hours on the field. There's another 21 hours between the social side, the academic side, just the camaraderie, the culture of everything. So we felt good about it. We started going through the fall and we felt good at the end of the fall with our staff. With what we had position player wise. I wouldn't say that I felt like we were gonna do everything, to a point like we have. But when the season started and you go 20-1 to start, you really stumble into like, hey, we've got something good going here. And they figured out some things real quick in who they are, not just the person and how they fit into the team, but the team in general. And then it just went on from there to where every game mattered. We didn't want to give games away. And when you show up, we never lost a doubleheader. We played 6 days of doubleheaders throughout the season. We won every doubleheader. Like at the Division I level, that's unheard of to do that. So when you have the intangibles to do stuff like that, you end up 42-12, and you put yourself in a position to be where we're at today. And I tell the players all the time, in your life, definitely what you want to do is just give yourself a chance. You want an opportunity, and that's what we've created, throughout the season and where we're at today.
So just to run through the numbers a little bit, you mentioned 42-12, started the season 20-1, but a number that stuck out to me is the home field advantage. You guys had 30 wins at home, most ever for WKU. I'll ask you too, is there something about the home field advantage there in Bowling Green that you guys can speak to?
I think we're just comfortable on our own turf. I don't know, you can speak. I think it's more of a pitcher's park, and we have really good arms. So, the arms dominated this year at home, so it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about being home anywhere, and I feel like our park is one of the harder parks to walk into and have success right away. And just practicing there all fall, we know how that park works, and hitters are able to do what they need to do, and pitchers do what they need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. You say it's a pitcher's park, so you guys have one of the best pitching staffs in Conference USA, if not the best. Obviously, Drew, Pitcher of the Year, but your assistant coach, Dylan Napoleon, also won Assistant Coach of the Year. Didn't have enough microphones to get him up here on the show today. But tell me a little bit about him. You've been along with him for quite some time. What is it about Dylan, Coach Napoleon, that has really gotten this squad going this year?
Everybody just knows him as Nap.
Got it.
Yep. I hired him at my junior college, at a junior college where we came from, very talented young men, but they had to develop. And so, he was the guy that I brought on. He's the son of a high school coach, a retired coach, a legendary coach in the Hall of Fame up in Chicago. So he just grew up in this world, and very patient, very understanding with the student athlete. He just, the communication he has, not just with the staff, but every individual on the staff. And he brings the new age of baseball, the analytics, the mechanics, the video, everything, with also an old school touch to where the game is still the game, and there's some integral things that need to happen to win games. No matter, I think I've said it before, nobody cares how hard you throw ball 4. It's a walk. So you can have a great arm, you can develop velo, but if you can't be in the zone, you can't be competitive within the game, it won't matter. And Knapp has really blended that. So when I took this job, he was my first call, and I said, hey, I just took the job. Are you in? And he goes, yep. And so he's here with me now. He's turned down some jobs to stay here. Just the relationship my wife and I have with him and his wife, I've just really been impressed with him. And I don't know, he's got 5 daughters now, all under the age, I think, of 11.
No baseball players in the family, huh?
Well, they're softball, though. They are softball.
There you go.
But he's just been one of those guys. He's just an extension of me. And whether it's the little leagues or it's the big leagues, it starts on the mound. And so he's been as important as anybody.
Yeah, I think that your guys' pitching numbers can definitely attest to that. As from a player's perspective, do you have anything to add to what Coach Rardin said?
No, he really said it all. Just for me, he's been really helpful in getting me to understand, to trust my stuff. Not really like getting us to understand how to play the game and what we need to do to win, and not making us think too much about all the things that can happen, and kind of just getting us to understand the basic points. And I just feel like he's really good at that, and it just gets all the pitchers into a good mindset, and that's how we've been successful.
Well, shout out to Coach Knapp. Sorry we couldn't have you on the show today, but they talked enough great stuff about you, I think, to make up for it. So, we talked a lot about the pitching, but y'all's offense this year has also been, something to write home about for sure. Most of the season you guys spent in the top 10 nationally in ERA and batting average. You look at the series against New Mexico State 2 weekends ago, there were a lot of runs on the board. You guys play them again tomorrow, which I'm looking forward to. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But what is it about you guys' offense this year? Was there something maybe that you focused on more this year than you have in years past, or do you think that the bats are just hot?
Well, first and foremost, it always comes down to recruiting. You just have to get the right kids to start with. Talent, but then their ability to be coached, their ability to adapt. Because majority of them, like even for Ryan, coming from a junior college, it's still baseball. It's just completely different. That's what I tell people all the time, and so you just have to learn, and you can still be a lot of the same guy, but there's adapting that has to happen for all these guys. So number one, it goes to the talent we recruit, and then their ability to make those adjustments, with us. What we've done in the past is, and we still do it, but we value putting balls in play. Strikeouts just don't do a lot. It's going to happen, but you can help limit it. You got to be able to move the baseball, and in a lot of situations allow you to just make sure the value of putting balls in play. And again, you go back to a talented kid that learns more and more on how to put balls in play, a lot of good things can start happening. Then you have a whole lineup of them, and then the numbers increase in what you do. So we valued more this year, more doubles, more home runs than we have our first 2 years here, but we were just kind of getting our feet on the ground the first couple of years, and now we get to the third year to where now all of a sudden batting average and doubles and home runs and stolen bases, it's all to a higher level now.
Yeah, they all start compounding on top of each other. Ryan, obviously newcomer of the year this year, spent last year in JUCO, player of the year this year as well. What has your your experience been like with the Hilltoppers this year?
It's been great. I'm definitely glad I chose WKU coming here. The coaching staff's really helped me develop, and like Coach Rardin just talked about, Fournier and all the hitting guys have really helped me with my approach, just dialing it in, swinging at better pitches, kind of like what counts, what pitches I'm looking for, and that's really helped me, I feel like, adjust to this higher level than junior college, so it's been good.
Awesome. First Conference USA Championship that you get to be a part of. Looking forward to it?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Definitely am excited.
Did you guys play here at home this year, or were they at your place?
We played here this year.
Okay, so it's not an unfamiliar ballpark.
No, that's what makes it nice, is that we've been here.
Yeah.
So that there is an advantage. I would say, I don't know advantage, but it does help.
Yeah, for sure. So what is your approach as a player and as a coach when you get to the postseason like this, when you're going into the conference championship? Do you treat it as every week, like a same way you would a weekend series, or is it different?
I would just say it's still baseball, but there's a little bit more energy, a little bit more motivation. I would just say, the approach is just do what you've been doing the whole year, but don't try to do too much, like Coach says. Just be relaxed, be yourself. So.
Yeah, I mean, for me, what's gotten us here is what we've done all year, and I don't see a reason to change that. But it does come down to it's everything you got. Everybody's at the home stretch, and it's whatever you got left. And I think that's really all you need to do.
I tell these guys all the time, and in fact, I just said it the other day too. My wife and I, we have two sons, and when we're in the living room and you hear them upstairs, and they're older now. One's 24, one's 18, but they'll be upstairs, and you'll hear them laughing and stuff. As parents, you love that when you hear your kids, getting along and laughing and stuff. The same thing goes. I love watching these guys within each other and the camaraderie, and that's a huge part to me, is they got to enjoy the moment, enjoy each other, play for each other while you're playing with each other. And all these are memories. That's all it is. Like, life goes on, at some point he's going to go do something else. He's going to do something else. I'm going to be here or somewhere, or, my day goes on. I always tell these guys, at the end of the day, I drive home. I see what was for dinner, and I go warm it up, and I eat by myself, and watch something on TV. So I try to get them to just play some things off. The young males, really competitive. It's just everything that they want right? And I get it, but yet whether you win or lose, we got to play at a certain level and just understand that the moment's the moment, and more importantly, it's just a memory.
So based on what you just said, I have a feeling I know the answer to the next question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So you're all about looking forward to the next thing, like what am I eating for dinner tonight? Let's move forward. But
especially the dinner part.
Yeah, exactly. But you look at what you guys were able to do against New Mexico State 2 weekends ago. You guys play them again tomorrow to start off. Do you look at that?
These guys already know this answer. No, it's when you play at New Mexico, it's like you're on Mars.
That's true.
Like
the air
ball,
out there.
Yeah. Yes. Right. I mean, whether you're pitching and you're like, just keep the ball down, you know, and when you're hitting, it's like, just give me something up so I can get this in the air. So we did a great job of it, you know, and we took advantage. Their pitching was struggling at that moment, and it was a tough weekend for them. We've been on that side as well, and we just took advantage of it, and we liked it. You know, Ryan's sitting over here along with got guys that hit their first home runs while in their career at WKU and stuff. So it was just a good part. You know, the atmosphere was for them and us. It just wasn't for us. We just were the better one at that moment that took advantage of it. So we don't look at it. It's a little bit different when you're playing here than playing there. We can still do a lot of the same things, probably without the 13 home runs. I'll take it though. But there is a different atmosphere definitely to it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk a little bit kind of about your season as a whole, the way that we started out. I want to ask you a question about the league. So perennially, Conference USA has been a great baseball league. Of course, we've seen a lot of change with realignment in the past couple of years, but I would argue with a lot of people that Conference USA is still a great baseball league. What can you say about conference play this year? I mean, you guys were 20-1 to start the season. Most of your losses came in CUSA play. So tell me a little bit, either from a player perspective or a coach's perspective, what it's like to play in Conference USA.
I'll let these guys go first.
I mean, for me, it's week in, week out. There's no easy team in this conference. You kind of have to take every game like it's the most important one, because it is the most important one, and you can easily, like we saw this year, we can easily sweep or we can easily get swept. That's kind of the fun part about this conference, is that nothing's ever set in stone, and I would argue it is definitely a top conference in the country for baseball. So yeah,
I'd agree with Drew. There's no freebies. You got to show up every day, got to play hard, be competitive. There's a lot of good arms in this conference that I've experienced, so just dialing in your approach every day, being focused as an offense. It's been something we've been working on, but yeah, like Drew said, it's a very competitive conference, top to bottom.
Coach, anything to add to that?
The baseball people out there, all the geniuses of the college baseball world, I mean, they have us as the 5th best conference. You know, you got the P4s, you got the top 4 conferences, and then you got, so I mean, we're right there. And you know, we took Vanderbilt into extra innings. We beat Kentucky. We had our chances with Louisville. Like, you know, the thing is, baseball is baseball. If our football team went to play Kentucky, you know, it gets handed to them a little bit more. If you play them in basketball, you get handed to you a little bit. Just the physicality and literal physicality. Here, you got to hit a ball, you got to field the ball, you know, those types of things. So baseball allows you to be at different levels. In the Conference USA, I mean, in my experience of being here for a 3rd year, and Drew said it as well, I mean, you can sweep, you can get swept. It can be a 1-0 ball game. It can be a 12-10 ball game. You got to show up every day.
So you guys took 2 out of 3 against the regular season champs in the league, nationally ranked DBU. You just went over your accolades about how you took so many Power 4 teams to the wire in these games. 42-win season. Obviously, we think you guys should be in the tournament, but I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here. If you could argue to those out there why you think you guys should be in the tournament, from any of you, what would you say about you guys?
You guys go first.
42 wins is pretty hard to do. We've been doing it all year, showing up, winning ball games. You know, maybe our strength of schedule isn't super high right now, but you know, I think if we win a couple games, and then, you know, obviously we're going to try and win the tournament. But you know, I think we're a team that should be in the tournament for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you turn on the games and you watch us play, you can see offensively, pitching-wise, defensively, I mean, we can hang with really anybody, if not beat them. And I think we've shown that in a lot of the games we've played. There's been series this year where we've been picked to lose and we've swept or won the series, and so I think that we've shown a lot of times that we can do something in a tournament.
I think a lot of it is just in your hands all the time. I hate to be sitting up here on a soapbox, preaching why we should. Again, the league's hard enough. We go down to FIU and get swept. We could have won 2. We didn't win any. And then, again, we took 2 out of 3 at DBU, and we actually had a chance to sweep them. We left like 12 guys on base on Sunday, and so the 42 wins is great. Strength of schedule wasn't, but I also didn't know that we were going to start off 20-1.
Yeah, that's hard to tell.
when you look at strength of schedule and you see some of the teams we have beat, and some of the series that we've won, you can start to, strength of schedule. Then we ended up winning games we should be winning. So we did win them.
Right.
And we had one weekend that shot us in the foot with FIU. This last weekend was a tough weekend just for everybody because of the shortened week, and then get ready for conference and all the pitchers, and Bennett goes down, our Friday night guy, and now all of a sudden we're missing 12 outs that he would have taken care of in a game, and we're using a bullpen right away, and then the whole weekend, trying to catch up without Bennett being there. And that put us again. So I agree with Wideman. We need to really, have a showing here if we can. 2 wins for sure gives us a great shot, and 3 wins, I think we show our worth then.
Well, we are absolutely looking forward to seeing you guys get out there starting tomorrow. You can watch all of our Conference USA Championship baseball games on ESPN Plus leading up to the championship game, which will be on Sunday on CBS Sports Network. Guys, thank you so much again for joining us. Have a great showing out there.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you.
All right, Conference USA fans, hopefully you enjoyed our very special episode here today on CUSA Insider, releasing on a Tuesday also. Didn't even mention that. No new episode this Thursday because we'll be here on site in Lynchburg, Virginia. But if you need any watch links, where to watch, need to know game times, need to look at the bracket, just remember you can always visit conferenceusa.com or follow us on social media at Conference USA on X, Instagram, and Facebook. You can also follow the podcast on X and Instagram at CUSA Insider Pod, and make sure that you go over to YouTube and subscribe to the show so that you never miss a new episode. All right, everyone, that is it for us today, live from Lynchburg, Virginia, here for the 2025 CUSA Baseball Championship. I'm Sarah Rudolph, and you are watching CUSA Insider, the official podcast of Conference USA.